Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Freedom Friday. This is the My Lead System Pro, My Dream Team Hangout. Tonight, we are privileged to be sharing this, to have our guest here tonight, Mr. Brian Hazel, and he's going to teach us something that is just extraordinary. I'm not sure what yet, but I've been watching him on Facebook, and the first time I encountered him actually was on the leaderboards of My Lead System Pro. It was like I always do this. I always get on there, and I like to get on there and see who's moving and shaking, who's doing what, who's really getting a lot of results. And I just kept seeing Brian's name coming up on the leaderboards constantly, over and over again. Number one, number two, number one, number two. And just chatting with Brian, he says he's just getting going. So So guys, if you're watching this right now, make sure you stay put. This is going to be awesome. And before we get started, I want you to know who we are. We are a group of people that came together in Austin, Texas. Tonight, it's just me. I usually have two cohorts with me this evening, but they couldn't make it. Apparently, Scott is stuck in traffic, but we will catch him next time. But we came together as a group to bring you the most value and to bring the most value to our members. So with that, this is the most prestigious online company in the industry right now. And if you really want to get a look at it and learn how to grow your business online, creating leads and sales for your business, make sure you click that link down below anytime. That link will take you real close. You'll be able to get inside of our private group, connect with me, connect with Scott, and we'll be well on our way. So with that said, folks, I want to bring out our special guest tonight. He's going to share his story, and then we're going to jump into some content. Guys, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Brian Hazel. How are you tonight, sir?
Great. How are you?
I am exceptional. I'm excited to see what you have to share with us tonight. I've been following your progress and watching you just crush the leaderboards.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the great thing about it is that it's 100% duplicatable. It's not, the way that I do things is more simplified in terms of repetition being regular than having to go into a serious deep science. There is a science that deals with math, and it's very simple math, and I'll share that as well. And it just all adds up. And I mean, and you can almost end up predicting your results. And that's why you'll see me go number one, number two, number one, number two, because I will just implement the equations, create what I need to create that amount of leads for a certain time period, and just let them go. And the results really speak for themselves.
They absolutely do. I saw that screenshot you posted a while back of like the 5,000 opt-ins.
Yes.
In a day?
Yeah, in a day. So really, I have a pretty large now organic base. And when it really comes back to is when I started this, I understood that it was important just to start putting out content as I was learning. So in other words, I was doing blog posts and things like that immediately upon learning, because I understood content. I understood when you searched Google for certain things that it was important to have content. So I immediately started, if I was just describing my day, I mean, I used to like to go, I still do like to go to the gym every morning and just talk about my routine. So in the beginning, I would just talk about my routine, how I would go to the gym, come back and start studying this stuff. And it was just content. And I would mention, certain companies, and all of them, such as MLSP, which early on in understanding this stuff, I saw the quality immediately. I saw that because I do a lot of research. I was like, they're leaders. I don't know, it seems like all the leaders in the industry all have one thing in common. They have come through MLSP. So this is something I'm going to put right here, and I'm always going to hold on to that. And as I move forward, I didn't understand why then. I saw the quality, but I would then understand why I held on to it later and up to this point now. So
Absolutely. I mean, you're totally right. Some the biggest names that people are seeing online right now and in the communities, they've all come through these doors. They've come through the My Lead System Pro doors. They've been a part of this community. They've been leaders in this community. Some of them have grown and moved on and done different things, but they've all built huge, huge foundations and businesses through this platform. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Brian, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Like, what have you done? Like,
Um,
how did
I'm
you get
from
in?
Potomac, Maryland. I've had a few businesses in the past. I was in the trucking business for a long period, and not wanting to be so physical because that was car hauling. I then got into the bar, nightclub management business and ownership of bars and nightclubs. And then after that, in wanting to further step back, I was looking at this stuff and I was like, wait a minute, the bar business, I mean, it's good money, but it's 7 days a week. I was like, what if I could equal that lifestyle from my home office? And so that was the challenge. And I was like, you know what? I don't care what it takes in terms of time or effort. If you can achieve that, it's worth all the time that it takes to learn how to achieve it. And so that's what I was really willing to do up front. Whether it took 12 hours a day, 4 hours a day, it just didn't matter to me.
Wow, that's awesome. Very, very cool. So, Brian, we're all dying to know what have you brought on for us tonight? We want to, like, what kind of content are you going to share with
Okay.
us? Like, how are you getting 5,000 leads in a day?
Okay. Here's the thing. I'll tell you, when I started, I would wait for a couple days and I would go, I get an invite for a webinar. And I was like, you know what? I can't wait for that webinar because that's going to be the breakthrough. And I would sit there and I would watch the webinar. And at the end, I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm still where I started basically. And I knew that once I started understanding this stuff, that I would not deliver in that capacity. I would deliver real results and real understanding of how to get those results. And so that's actually, what I'm going to bring right now.
Woo, like it.
Here's,
I like that.
okay.
I've had that same experience
Oh,
before in
yeah.
the past where
Yeah.
I'm like, you find some shiny object on the internet, you go check it out, and it's like,
Disappointing.
I didn't really learn anything.
Or the strategy is given, and when you try to implement it on your own, you're like, wait a minute, that is so deep. I don't understand this, and then I have to get this tool to that tool. So I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. It might be a little more labor, it might be a little more time intensive, but it is duplicatable, and that is what I think the key is. So in starting off, I'll tell you, I mean, the first thing that I think anyone should do is have a great foundation from the beginning. In other words, you should have an outlet on every single known social media platform. When we say that, we're talking Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Google Plus, Snapchat, blogs, articles, videos, just everything. And so what you would do is you would list out everyone that you feel comfortable with, and you would go over that list, implementing content on a regular basis, maybe once, twice a week, and just continue to do that and do not quit. So you have that in one column, okay? So this isn't content that you're going to put out as a hard sell. This is actually just, my content at that level is really just about positive mental attitude every day. It's really, the mindset that you need every day just to stick with it to get to the real meat and potatoes. So I would use that, or I still do in my social media. And then here and there, I will put links in, very soft selling links, not slamming, hard sell, not like that. Okay, so now you start to build up your organic traffic, okay? And this is where, I say that the science comes in, and we'll get into a little more details too, how to do that. With the organic traffic, I take that and I run that through a high converting front end program that produces cash flow every day. Okay. I take that cash flow that's produced from that front end product and I reinvest that immediately into solo ads. Now, a lot of people will sell 500 clicks, 1,000 clicks. I buy only 100 clicks, but I might buy 10 orders of 100 clicks. I never typically buy more than 100 because I just cannot measure the quality. The control isn't there. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating a cycle. I am pushing that organic into the paid, and the paid then starts reinvigorating the organic. And it turns into just a circle, and it starts to build itself. And then the list just starts to build. With the list building, once you get to a certain point, you begin to broadcast on the list. So that brings further sales from the broadcast. Further sales from the broadcast equal more investment into the 100-click solo ads, which, okay, maybe you're at 5 100s. Well, with the broadcast, now you're at 6 100s. Then you're at 7, and it just keeps going to the point where you can pull out all the paid if you'd like to, and just run the organic and let that go, or bring back in the paid. And if you remember when I said you can almost predict how many leads you may want to generate that day, that's when you can push and pull in the paid. You're pushing in the paid to reinvest and invigorate that list. You're pulling back the paid to have a little pocket change or to allow a little profit to come into your pocket.
Right.
So, it's a win-win situation. Here's the thing. You're building the list. That's equity. You're not doing paid. You're letting the organic do its thing. That's cash flow. You can't lose. So if you're not strapped for cash, there's the perpetuality and where it can just keep going and you can really grow it. And I think that's part of the problem in this industry. People look at people at the end of the cycle. Where do they start? How do I get it going? And that's where I really focus on, the get it going. The 0 to just getting the machine going. And, once you get it going, the inertia and the momentum, you can grow it from there.
Just keeps going. So what you're basically saying is that, you're doing this all organically initially out on social media across a ton of platforms and just posting, just posting whatever you're going to post to get those leads and start creating some income that way.
Right.
And once you have a little bit of income, you're immediately taking that back and putting it into solo ads, which are
100% of it.
100% of everything that you make.
Yeah,
so if I made my MLSP commissions and it was $500 this month, then I would be like, $500 goes into solo ads.
Exactly. Where I think, the rule of thumb that I had heard was 20%. I was like, I can't afford to do 20%. I've got to be much more aggressive. Because if I'm aggressive enough, not having to reinvest will take care of itself in the long run. So you've got to be a little more investment aggressive in the beginning.
Right.
You don't need the cash flow in the beginning as much as you're going to benefit from it in the end.
Right. So Brian, why 100 clicks? Why wouldn't you take that money and buy 1,000 or 10,000 or however much?
I'm gonna break it completely down.
Okay, cool.
Okay. When you are running your traffic and you have a quality tracker, you should be able to watch your traffic going through any program. You should be able to watch it going, your opt-ins as it's going through the capture page. How far is it going past the first sales page, the landing page, etc. You should be able to see, well, wait a minute, that traffic isn't as good as this and this, that, and the other. So what I had noticed was once I started buying more than 100, the quality after 100 or right after 200, no matter how good the providers are. And I love the providers. It's probably, I don't know why it happens, but it tends to tail, waver off a little bit. And I was like, well, why should I pay for wavering off when I really need that to reinvest? So I
got
caught
that.
it right before it will waver off, which is somewhere around 100, 200 maximum. So you have a lot of people who buy a lot of traffic, but here's what I think happens. They might buy 5,000 clicks. I hadn't found that buying that much traffic is that much quality towards the end of the whole thing. So what's the sense in doing it? Spend a little more time and energy. It might take you 2-3 hours more, but isn't that what we're supposed to be doing anyway? I'll spend the 2 or 3 hours more to be able to do this as I want to. And that's the way that I did it.
Right on. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Awesome. Awesome.
So again, instead of having one provider, I would make a list of maybe 20, 25. And so my day would be spent, or it still is spent, ordering 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. And then I'd take that 100 and see who's good from there, keep or don't, while the organic is still going. And the organic is paying for that as well. So
awesome. Very cool. So, all right. I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, where do we get started with this?
I mean, the first thing is having, the extensive social media platform. And I think that a lot of people really just need to focus on how important that really is. It's not just really about advertising your opportunity. In my opinion, time after time on your Facebook. I have 3 Facebooks. Why do I have 3 Facebooks? Because I think that in my life, people know me as my first and last name, people know me as my first and middle initial, and people know me as my first, middle, and last name. However you search me, you're going to be able to find me. There's no excuse not to be able to find me. Now, here's another little thing that I use with the different profiles. On my family and friends profile, I don't do a lot of business posting because, they don't want to see that. They don't want to come to Thanksgiving and hear that, about this. It's just not their thing. They don't know what it is. So I'm very light on the one of my friends and family. On my others, I have one that I order my traffic through, okay? And I send a certain message there that is more for experienced marketers. And I code the language in such. I talk about tracking. I talk about percentages of sales, et cetera, et cetera. And then on my other Facebook, which I understand I've connected with a lot of people that have just begun, it is more about opportunities. You see? So each audience kind of gets what is most comfortable to them. And and my aunt's not getting my opportunity shoved at her constantly, or my results. She doesn't care, So that's the way that I use the Facebook platforms.
Got it.
A little bit different, I think.
That is very different, actually. I've never heard that before. That's totally different.
And then all of my Facebooks, I use the cover photo to pull back to my Facebook fan page, which is all MLSP products. So
good, awesome. So how did you go about setting up all the platforms? Like, are you talking about having like a Twitter, a Facebook, Instagram, a whatever, a Pinterest, a this or that?
It's the same as you just have a spreadsheet and you just go down, And if there's a hot platform that comes out, like when Periscope, came out, I added Periscope. And so now your list is long. And so what you do, Monday morning, you go down your list. Tuesday, you might not do it. Wednesday, you go down your list. Friday, you go down your list. You know what? By the weekend, you have so much content out there. You're just everywhere. And so keep and continue to do it that way.
So I got that. So you're saying you're just doing like a little bit on each platform versus doing like a whole lot on one platform.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And I'll just turn up the volume on each one a little bit every week or month.
Huh. Okay.
I know it's a little bit different because it's taught to choose one and really, but I think that, I don't know. I mean, for me, I think that if I see someone constantly posting and posting and posting, it just begins to blend in.
Mm.
And so I give them a way out. I'm like, you're not going to always look at something and have to receive a business post. You're not going to have to go through that. And so, I think that's important. I just do. And that was one of the things that I noticed in coming into the industry. I was like, the whole timeline, the whole news feed is filled with this person just posting and posting and posting. And I was like, there must be another way to be able to get it out there without doing it like that. So.
That's interesting. That's definitely a unique take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a big proponent of just consistency, of just being very, very, very consistency. And I spend a lot of time on my Instagram, for example. That's the biggest platform that I have. It's where I have the most followers. It's where I made the most money. It's where I've done the best at. So I really focus on it. I focus on connecting with people. I focus on my posts. I do all the things I need to do. But that's really interesting, on really spreading yourself out like that.
It's a lot more work, but, it's almost, I would say, like not having just one or two stocks. It's like having a mutual fund, spreading the risk. Something happens on one of your platforms, you've got the others on full blast coming in. So. But it is a lot more work, and I admit that.
How much time do you put into it each day?
Well, when I say a lot more work, typically, let's just say you're posting on Facebook. What does it take? A minute?
About
40 seconds? Okay, so my day in social media updates on my platform might take an hour and 10 minutes.
For all your platforms.
I start it in the morning. And it's done. And it takes that long because I don't just post anything. I think about it. I look at it. I think about the spacing of the words. I make sure that I capitalize the first letter in every word. I look at it. If that doesn't look right, I re-edit it. And then I let it go. And that, it takes time to do each one carefully like that.
Okay. So that's awesome. That's really awesome. I'm just curious, like, when does the how quickly were you able to do this? Like, how fast did it start producing for you? Like the organic sections, because it's, I seem to remember there was a product inside of MLSP a while back that allowed you to kind of like spread your blog throughout all of the different social platforms. Okay, I did it a little bit differently. Instead of having one blog that spread out, I used 3 blogs. In other words, I used the MLSP blog, I used the Google Blogger, and I also used the IBO Toolbox PR blog. So instead of going like this, I have 3 going out that way, or 4 going out that way. I take writing that I've done, and I just split it up. Not the same one, the same day, and I just split it up. So for a person that's going to do a blog one day, I'm going to have 5 times the content out that day than a person that is just blogging for that day. Okay, give me a little bit more on that. So you're writing like one blog post.
Okay. Let's say from 2013. I had my blog posts that are not active anymore. Some maybe I've written, I've taken off of I was on a blogging platform that I'm not active on anymore, a famous, I think one of them, okay? So I have all of those old blogs, and they got to a point where they were more research-based in terms of, I'm testing this, I'm trying this, I try new subject lines, and you know what I mean? Like really good things that can help people. So what I started doing was just splitting up them, rewriting them, and putting them out on 4 different ones. Putting it out on the Google Blogger, free blogger,
What is Google Blogger? I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, it's when you go to YouTube.
You can. We
Yeah.
do have the screen share option if you wanted to share that.
Well, let me just. Okay, Google with YouTube has a blog platform. It's called Blogger, and you'll see like it'll say .blogspot after. You haven't seen that Blogger?
I think I have. I'm just not real familiar with it. I'm looking at my phone about 80% of the day usually.
Okay. Well, if we were to think about one of the greatest challenges we have is to rank our things on Google. So why not use the Google Blogger, which you can share directly with Google+. So now that one blog post is going to Google, Google+, and wherever other buttons that you want to put it through. It can go to your Facebook and everything like that, just from one blog post. And I'll do 4 a day that are like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this isn't 4 unique blogs. This is one blog that you already wrote, and you kind of just wrote it down and repurposed it in 4 different ways.
Exactly. That would be the word.
But you just posted it 4 different times.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's not a simple cut and paste. It's not that, because it's not the same content. And I will rewrite it and update it. Like if I don't think that it's relevant for today, then I'll go, that's not relevant. I have new information of the way that things go today, and I'll insert that as an update. So it's not just blah content. It is relevant. And you know, these are things that I could send people if they don't understand a certain subject. Like they'll say, well, what about subject lines? And I'll say, let me just send you this as a page and just read that through, and you'll understand how I do subject lines from there. I have a lot of writing. So, and that's I focused on writing, so I have a lot of it.
Awesome. Very cool. Where did you learn your writing on this other platform?
No, I mean, I always like to write, you know, and so when blogging was understood to be a great content enhancer, I was like, that's easy for me. I can just sit down and write right now, anything. I can write about today in 2 paragraphs. So,
got that.
And then relate it back to what we're doing right now. So.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay. So do you ever approach any new concepts or ideas like in your blogging?
Yes. I'm working on one right now that I will release probably next week, where I put it all together and really push it hard. And I'm in the research mode of that, and you'll be able to tell when I release it by the number of leads, and it's just going to completely flood it.
How many times a week do you blog? Just the once, right? Like
No, 3. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
You write 3 blogs a week, you break them down and redistribute them.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll write 3 a week, and then on a blog, like for content, I'll use the content from an MLSP capture page, and I will make that kind of like a product ad. Still content, and it's going out, and it has a link in it and everything. So that's a salesy blog. So I'll mix it up in there. And if I don't, you know, if I'm having writer's block that day, I'll go use a capture page, put it out, and use an MLSP product as a salesy blog and put it out. So something goes out that day. Period.
Wow.
And I just rotate it and just continue to rotate it. So there is going to end up being, I'm sure, a blog post that represents every product in MLSP. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's out there. And then I'll re-rotate it, and it'll be out there again. And I'll sit back and I'll look in the back office and I'll say, you know what? They're clicking on that, so I'm going to keep that one going. That's the one that they like. So.
I get it. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, oh, by the way, guys, Samantha is joining us here. Looks like she snuck on when we were kind of chatting there. I wasn't watching Samantha.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
Did you catch what we were going over here? Did you have any thoughts on that?
Me? Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like Miguel. It's really interesting because it's just a new. It's a different method, you know. I think I as soon as I got in, you were talking about content, and I just want to make sure that I understand. So when you the social media, all of your social media platforms,
Yes.
You said you do most of the things you post are very light, very mindset.
Typically, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that I do that is kind of, hard sales are when I do a blog that is paraphrases a capture page. And then it's going to have quotes because it's going to have, whatever the MLSP leader, quoted about this product, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite obvious, a person could look at it and go, well, I'm not really going to read that, but I understand, this product, and they get an idea about that product. And they'll look for the next blog, which really gets into something in terms of research or something like that. You can tell the difference, but it's still content, and it still pulls up. When you search my name, it's still going to, the whole page, there's an effect when you have the whole page.
Yeah.
When a prospective person wants to join your business and they look at your signature and they Google your signature and you have 2 pages of content, I think that helps with conversions. So.
Yeah.
I think that might have some kind of impact there.
Yeah.
So does that mean that when you write a blog post, you also promote it in your social media platforms?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
Typically. If not the whole, a part of it, a sentence from it, a saying from it, it possibly should relate to it, typically.
Okay.
Because that day will have a theme.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is only, did you say you post once a day on all your social media?
Yes, once a day.
Okay.
In the mornings. And then and then that's it for the day. I'll sit back and just look at the results. I'll look at my phone and look at the autoresponder notifications. I count the amount of autoresponder notifications that have come in, and I understand my opt-in rate, and I can tell, okay, well, it was a light day for leads, it was a heavy day for leads. If it's a light day for leads, I know I'm going to, turn it up a little more the next day. And that's it. And so I can pretty much go anywhere I want that day and look at how many leads coming in by a certain time and go, I need to turn it up a little bit.
So when you say organic, what specifically are you referring to? I'm not sure if you were talking about organic traffic or organic.
Organic traffic.
Okay, and that organic traffic. Okay.
And every social media platform. Every single one.
Okay. So it's not paid, or is it?
I do pepper the traffic with paid. If I feel I need to. If I feel I need to bring it up again a little bit, I'll add it in, and then I'll pull it back out as needed.
Very cool. This is so totally new. I'm a little bit blown away by it. I'm like, wait a minute, it sounds too easy.
It is. I mean, it really is. Here's the thing. I mean, and that's the reason why I was saying initially that it's completely duplicatable. And here's what happens typically. If you give someone this understanding, they'll do it for a week, 2 weeks, and they're like, I can't do it. That's the mistake. That's where it ends. But if you just do it and do it and do it, and you just watch the tracker, the traffic will start coming, and it just does it, and then you can just keep pushing it from there. And if you want to add the pay, here's another thing that I do. Typically, I'll buy a domain or 2 domains a day. I'll think of something throughout the day that relates to the product, something surrounding the product. I buy the domain, research the keywords, and add it in. So one product might end up at the end of the week with 10 different domains that relate to the product. And then I put a tracking link on those domains, and I see how well they're bringing in leads also.
That's clever. That's really clever.
Yeah, that's just easy.
So you're basically doing keyword research to purchase domains.
The domain might be an idea to work for a long tail domain. Ideas that I can find online to work from home.com. And when a person searches, ideas and work from home, it'll show up. And so there it goes. I have a lot of those that I do.
That's clever. I've never heard that before.
The thing about it, though, anyone can do that. I mean, anyone can daydream during the day and think about what relates to the product that they have, write that down on an index card, bring it home, and buy the domain and apply it. So it's, I don't like the deep science stuff. That's just, I like the light science. Something that everybody can do, because ultimately you have to help someone. And it's easy to give them the simple things and have them bite on that and see results, than to give them this deep formula that they see no results and then it's over. So
I hear you. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about your paid, your solos.
Again,
is there, because I know there's some I get it that you're buying them. Mm-hmm. But I understand that there is some. See, I've never run solos before.
Okay.
So I totally get that's the second part of your strategy. You're using your organic traffic to create a ton of leads and start getting some income coming in, then immediately reinvesting all of that income into your solo ads. But what's converting as far as solo ads? Because I know there's some technique into that writing for solo ads. And there's some technique into, is this also a testing and tracking thing that you do, or is it just, or do you have a preset letter, or what are you putting out?
No.
Really
what I do? I let the solo ad providers choose the text. They know their lists better than I do. What has them? What will have their subscribers open their emails? They know that. So what I do is, and I do it kind of in a day trading manner. As soon as, if at 11 o'clock that day, organic brings in, an amount to buy 100, I'll buy it right then and there. Boom. So it's just constantly in. As soon as it brings another, I buy another. I don't let it wait till the next day. So I try to aggressively reinvest the organic that day into paid solo ads that day. Call it a day at the end of the day at 12 o'clock that night, almost like the closing bell, and calculate the losses or the gains that day. And the worst case scenario is that your list grew hugely that day, which is, if it's not a great gain that day, it is in the future. So
do you write to your list of leads that are coming in?
Every day. I do a broadcast.
You personally write to them every day?
Every day.
How do they, is this the point where they start to get to know you as a person? Or?
Exactly.
Okay.
And one thing that I do is I invite them to call me to ask anything. And we're not talking about private coaching or anything like that. Listen, if you need help, call me. I'll help you. So a lot of times during the day, I'm on the phone helping someone who, a lot of times they have another program and they're like, well, can you help me? And I'm like, sure, no problem. What are you doing? And I take the time. You know what? 2 days later, they're calling me back going, well, what program are you? You know what I mean? So I definitely give out my number, and anyone that calls me, I remember when it was like when I started. No one answered any real questions. It was dancing around and not telling me anything. You know what? I help people, A, plus B equals C. This is what you need to do. After you do this, call me back tomorrow and let me tell you where tell me where you are. The serious ones call you back. The ones that don't, it doesn't. And then I don't care if they don't buy either. It doesn't matter to me. I'll help you. So, and I think that attitude helps a lot because I'm never salesy on the telephone. They ask me for the sale. I don't ever ask. Do you want to buy it? You don't want to? It doesn't matter. Okay. So, and it works. I'll tell you, it works very well.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, what do you really focus on your writing for your broadcast?
I think so, probably. That's
like
probably
what kind of
my
stuff
main
do you
focus.
put out in your newsletters?
Say again.
What do you put out in your newsletters on a regular?
I start with a positive quote, and always, and I let them understand that this can be easy if you have the right help, and that contacting me means you will get help, not meaning I'm going to try to sell you something. And if you don't want it, again, you don't have to, but I will help you. And, I don't mind. It's actually, if you're going to do something full-time, why not full-time help someone? And if you're getting paid well for it, I think we get paid well for what we do. So I'm more than happy to help,
Right.
I try to shut it down by a certain time at the end of the day. And I think that's good for me and allows me to recharge. And it's good for them because I like to be fresh. And I like to, if we have to take time on the phone that's a while, I like to be able to explain it without being exasperated as well. So.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. You got to take care of yourself before you can really, really be able to help anybody. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian, where do you see yourself? I know when we first, before, nobody really saw what we were doing before we started the Hangout, but guys, if you don't know, Brian was just telling me, okay, he's done all of this just by testing and implementing as he's learning. And we're not really to the massive action phase yet.
Right.
Now, and this is, if you're tracking with him on Facebook, he made a post in which he pulled 5,000 leads in a day. So that's business. So what's it gonna look like when you hit full throttle or hit massive action?
That's a good question, because I want to see that. I want to see that myself. I'm putting it all together, and I'm putting it together as a routine. And so if someone sees the results, they'll be able to break down the routine and do a fraction of it, all of it. It will be up to them. And I'll say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I said I was doing a couple of weeks ago, and I told you this is what I was doing, and this is what I'm doing now. And those that are like, I'll do all that, you'll get similar results. There's nothing, I'm not doing PPV, I'm not doing, any of the hybrid type of things. It's just all basic but heavy in rotation and not hard sales, just content. And it just seems to work. I have a very low unsubscribe rate, a lot of opens, a lot of click, you know what I mean? Just everything is there. And the list just keeps continuing to grow every day. So
that's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Guys, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Brian, do you have anything else that you want to share with us before we call it a night?
I was just gonna, I don't know if you can see it, I was gonna give you an example of, just what I watch every day.
We can't really see.
Oh, okay. Can you see?
No, we can't see anything on the screen.
So that's
just bright.
239 since I cleared it. So that was about 500 clicks. Or there's 239 subscribers, probably in the last hour and a half. When did we start?
7.
Okay. What time is it now?
Well, it's 7 o'clock it's 7:49 in Colorado.
Okay, so it's okay.
We've been on 50 minutes.
49 minutes.
Yep.
239 subscribers.
In the last 49 minutes.
Exactly, since we started. I zeroed it out when we started. So
wow.
That'll kind of tell you. If you multiply that out, throughout the day, you'll see how, easily it can get to 5,000.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been doing the solo ads?
Off and on, probably about 2 years. I mean, I understood the importance of them initially from a MLSP alumni, Dagan Smith. I studied his stuff, like every single little line of it, and I just learned solo ads, every single thing about them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're gonna be running them yourself eventually.
No, I don't think so. I think I just want to stay in my space. No, I like my space, really. I'm comfortable where I am. If I want more results, because running solo ads means that if someone doesn't get the results that they expect that day, they're calling me. And right now, the way things are for me, zero stress, zero. I run a lot of leads. The people that are interested are interested. If they're not, they're not. And that's just it. Zero stress. Zero. Negative 15, in fact.
So, that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to keep it that way.
Very cool.
I've had stress before. I don't want it.
So, Brian, before we call it a night, where can people get a hold of you? How can they connect with you?
On one of my 3 Facebook.
You got 3 to choose from.
Yeah. Brian M. Hazel. Just Google it. I answer all messages. I'm diligent. I understand real business. So.
I got that. Awesome. Well, everybody, guys, thank you so much for watching this interview. This has been enlightening and informative. Brian is actually the first person to come out on this Hangout and teach what he taught tonight. So you're in a very special place right now to have saw this. You definitely wind it back, rewatch some of it, get some ideas, contact him, ask him questions, pick his brain. You might even be able to call him. Who knows?
I'll help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, if you're watching this right now and you got some value from this Hangout, make sure you click that link down below wherever you're watching this. You're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this on Google+, you're watching this on my blog. Make sure you click that link, fill out the form, get started, take your 10-day test drive. We will be in contact with you. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Brian, hang out for a second. Don't jump off right away.
Okay.
Have a good evening, folks.
Bye.
Bye.